ND array slicing. We're going to slice, which means to take elements from one given index to another. In this case, we start with the basic way to slice. So we use the brackets as if we were taking a single index, but with slices, you can do a range of indices. And the range is specified by this colon. So in this case, we're going from index 1 to right before index 5. And that corresponds to going from the second element to right before the sixth element, because remember, Python is 0 indexed. So in this case, that means going from 2 to right before the sixth element, so ending at 5. So we go 2, 3, 4, 5. We can also define the step, which is the increment. So, and if we don't consider the step, it's naturally going to be considered 1 by Python. So in this case, we specify 2 as our step. So we go from an index of 1 to an index of 6. So we go from the second element to right before the seventh element, and we do so by stepping past each one 2 at a time. So second element, we start with 2, step over, and then go to 4, take another step of 2 and go to 6. And then we would step over, well, 2 things, there aren't more to step into. And 2, we already specified our ending index as 6. So 6 corresponds to the 7th element, which is the 7 over here. So we're just going to stop. And we get 2, 4, and 6. Now, if we don't pass a start value, it's going to be considered a 0. So let's look at R and then nothing, colon 4. We're going to go from index of 0 to right before the index of 4, which means 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is because we stopped right before the 5th element. All right, and if we don't pass an end value, it's going to consider the length of the entire array. So you're basically going from the stated index to the very end. So index of 5 corresponds to the 6th element, which is 6. And then we go to the very end of the array, 7. All right, we go to your turn. So we have an example array. We want to slice elements from index 1 to index 6. We're going to do x1 colon 6. There we go. We go from the second element to right before the 7th element. In total, that's going to give us 5 different elements. Now we want to slice the elements from 12 to 0.5. So 12 corresponds to an index of 7. We can check. No, it doesn't. It corresponds to an index of 6. Good to check. All right, so it's going to be 6 to, well, if we put 7, we would only get right up until that index. So we're actually going to have to specify 8. All right, and now we want to slice elements throughout the entire array with a step of 2. We're going to do colon, colon again, and 2. So usually we would have a number here and a number here, but remember, if we don't specify a number, Python automatically takes it as 0. And if we don't specify a number here, Python automatically calculates the length of the array. And then the 2 is just the step. So let's do it. And we get 3, 4, 1, 12, and 6. All right, now we want to slice 2D arrays. So let's declare this array. And let's write down what the value printed out will be from this. So R1, 1 in the first dimension means, well, let's print out R and see. A 1 in the first dimension means that we're taking the second element of the entire array. So that's the second row. And then the next dimension is saying 1 through 4. So we're taking index 1 to right before index 4. That means we're taking the second element to right before the 5th element. So second, third, fourth, and then we stop right there before the fifth element. So we're going to get 7, 8, and 9. And let's check. There we go. Just a note, remember that the second element has an index of 1. All right, and now from both elements, we're going to return the items in index 2. And we know that it's from both elements because we're getting 0 through 2. So index 0 and index 1, first row and second row. Alternatively, well, let's run this first. 3, 8. Alternatively, we could get rid of 0 and 2. And we've got the exact same thing. All right. Let's declare R once again. And from both elements, slice index 1 to index 4. So index 4 is not included. So from both elements, meaning we want to pass a colon for the first dimension. The first dimension is going to get us either the first or the second row, in this case, both rows. So we're just going to put a colon. And then we want to get a slice of index 1 to index 4. So 1 through 4. And we get a 2D array just as we expected. Okay, from the first element, first, indicating index 0. We're going to get 0, comma. We're going to slice everything from including the second item to not including the fifth item. So we're going to do second item corresponds to index 1, and fifth item corresponds to index 4. And remember that this means that we're taking up to the fifth element, not including the fifth element. So right on point. 2, 1, 9. Okay, using slices, we're going to return 3, 4, and 5. Let's see what that looks like. Let's print out this array. So 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need to take a step of 2, and we need to get the second array. And we have to iterate through the entirety of that second array. Let's do R, and then pass in 1 for that first dimension, because that's going to indicate that we want the second array. And then we're going to pass through the step is going to be specified as 2, and then we're just going to put a colon up in the front because we want to go through the entirety of that second array. And we get 3, 4, and 5. So remember, we could put a number here. I could do 0 and then go up until the index 5, which doesn't exist, but remember, index 5 is not included, so we're actually going up to index 4, which is where this 5 resides. And then this 2 is the step.